The so-called passport is being offered only to those fully vaccinated or who have recovered from COVID-19.
Using a green passport policy is not that you get the vaccine, but that you either get the vaccine or avoid certain kinds of risky interactions with others.
Only the passport holders will be allowed to eat inside restaurants, go to the gym and swimming pool, enter houses of worship, attend other various events, and fly into the country without quarantining.
If someone decides nonetheless not to get the vaccine, they are within their right to do so. No one is talking about, coercing them. But it's also true that they should be the ones who bear the cost of this poor decision.
Those without a green pass can also have a negative PCR test a maximum of 72 hours before an event. Tourists must have a negative PCR test before boarding the plane to Israel, and when they land as well, have a serology test at Ben Gurion Airport to prove they've been vaccinated. Israel is working with other countries to find a method for recognizing each other's vaccines. Israel is seen as somewhat of a test case because of its vaccination numbers and ability to require passes. Some feel the Green Pass program is government overreach and possibly illegal.
Generally speaking, the WHO and most of the governments in the world so far, certainly the United States, has not adopted this measure, mainly even if you want to vaccinate, as we believe is a logical and justified measure, one has to be careful in not forcing vaccination.
Renowned immunologist Dr. Zvi Bentwich of Ben Gurion University is part of the Emergency Public Council for the coronavirus crisis. The group, comprised of doctors, scientists, and others, have filed a lawsuit with the Supreme Court, calling the Green Pass coercive and predatory.
We are not against vaccination, but we are against the usage of a measure that would cause discrimination and enforcement of measures that would impinge basically on human rights.
Professor David Enoch at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem disagrees.
When done properly, it does not violate human or civil rights. That does not mean that it's always done properly. And of course, it doesn't mean that we can let our democratic guards down, right? There are reasons to be cautious about some of these things.
Enoch argues the move is justified, since Israel and the world remain in a pandemic.
Alternative ways of fighting the risk, like close downs of all sorts of ways, quarantines and so on, they are extremely harmful as well. And by the way, they are disproportionately harmful to more vulnerable populations. Giving at least a fairly successful vaccination effort, Green Passport policy is the way to do that.
Still, he admits there's a fine line.
Whenever the state has power, power is dangerous. There are no guarantees.
Bentwich feels it's okay to identify the vaccinated, but not to show them preference.
Having a policy, let's say in restaurants, that everybody will wear a mask and there would be some sort of distancing, but by saying that you cannot enter a place unless you have this passport, that's a different story.
Many Israelis hope that once herd immunity is achieved, green passes and other restrictions will be unnecessary, so life can just return to normal. Meanwhile, these passports will rule the day. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.